Hey there, I am back with another deck review, and today we're going to be looking at Broken Crowns from Mark and Jenny Fallis. Now, Mark and Jenny are a husband and wife duo. He's a graphic designer, she's actually a cake artist, and they work together to deliver on one of Mark's bucket list creative items in producing his very own deck of cards. They hand rendered pretty much every detail in this classic historical deck inspiration and really kind of put their own spin on it with some vibrant and colorful artwork. But let's jump right into the deck and we'll see how it turned out. All right, starting with the tuck case, it's done on a glossy finish, no embossing, no foiling, just kind of your standard bicycle feel to the tuck case. And it's done with a really fun, bright, vibrant color palette. You have this sort of sea blue and these yellow colors in the back, forming a really ornate design. That background design that you see is actually a monochrome version of the back design of the cards that we'll look more closely at in a little bit, but you can see all that fun, whimsical art all the way through. Yeah, the name of the deck, Broken Crowns, and then a very classically inspired and yet definitely fully custom look at one of the jacks from the deck. You can see the sort of exaggerated features giving him that sort of unique feel, and we'll see a lot more of that art as we go through the court cards. But that's the front of the tuck case. On the sides, you have more of that artwork, those sort of designs that are inspired, kind of a mandala look there in the middle, but lots of little details in blue on both sides. Bottom has your ad copy for Mark and Jenny Fallis, of course, and the USPCC who printed the deck. And then at the top, it says Broken Crowns. Back has a full monochromatic version of the back design of the cards, all just done in yellow. You'll see the back design itself has a lot more color on it. And then it's finished out with a bright red postage stamp style tuck seal that just says Broken Crowns playing cards. As you open up the inner flap, Roman numerals for 2020 when the deck was printed, and that same jack, I guess I'll call him sort of a mascot of the deck, featured on both of the inner flaps. Nothing printed on the inside, and that's it for the tuck case. So I like the color palette. Would have loved to have seen this in like a matte finish or with some embossing or something just to amp it up a little bit, but still a really nice tuck case overall. All right, now let's get into the cards. We'll start with the back design. I promised you a lot more color on the back, and it definitely delivers. So there's the monochromatic version, and then with the actual back design, you get an absolute explosion of color. There's really only a few colors here. It's all done in reds, yellows, a little bit of that sea green or that teal color, and then some of that off-white. But the thin lines all the way through and just the rapid changing of color throughout just gives this a really great rainbow effect. Definitely feels mandala inspired with that design in the center, that sort of flower in the middle that just spirals out. And then the outside designs, really whimsical kind of swirls and lines all the way through. Kind of makes me think of like a Dr. Seuss pattern or something like that. Mark and Jenny put their own sort of signature on it, so you can see the M and the J on this inner ring, and then the F for their last name, Fallis, there on some of the outer designs. So they put their own little signature on it. And then it finishes out with a thin off-white poker border. They definitely took a risk going with that thin border with the USPCC print. Not always known for the best registration. You can see that definitely came into play here. But I like that they went with the thin poker border still. All right, there's your back design. Really beautiful, just a standout back design. But now let's get into the cards. The first two that you get are the Jokers. These Jokers are a nod to some historical bits as well. So really kind of a retro feel to them, as this card is wild and can be either be used or not at the option of players. So kind of giving you a complete description of what the Joker is. This font and this style here is actually reminiscent of the very first Joker that was ever created. The Bauer Joker was used as kind of a nod back to euchre that was played back then, but the Bauer Joker featured this exact same font. You can go look that up. I'll put a picture here so you can see what it looks like. But I love the historical reference. And that's not the only one that's included here. You'll see the jester in the middle is popping out of the box, kind of like a jack-in-the-box, labeled as the Jolly Joker. Early French cards, they often called the Joker Jolly. And so you'll see a lot of, especially older cards, where the Joker is labeled as the Jolly Joker. So I love the couple little historical references they included in here. Nice touch while still making it kind of their own unique style card. You have the Joker in the two corners and then the star in the other two. One red, one black to give you the pair. So nice Jokers. You also get a couple of Gaff cards. You get a double backer, so an extra look at that bright, vibrant color, and a duplicate Queen of Spades. So quick look here at the art style of the Queen of Spades. We'll revisit this one in a second because it's not an exact copy of the Queen of Spades. So I'll put that one aside for now. We'll get back to it. All right, then we get to the Ace of Spades. Now, in keeping with their nods to historical decks, the Ace of Spades has a lot of history if you know about playing cards. Ace of Spades, back when cards were taxed, there was a time where the government basically produced their own ornate design for the Ace of Spades and then would license it or give it to licensed playing card designers or playing card manufacturers. And so the fact that you had that ornate and hard to copy Ace of Spades, that was how they knew that you had paid your taxes. And so that's the origin of the Ace of Spades traditionally being the power ace. And you can see that nod here, beautiful Ace of Spades design, that same sort of mandala pattern inspired there, beautiful ring around it, really ornate. And then underneath, nod to the taxes, do not sell or buy for use in another deck. So love that little nod there, and I think really well done on the artwork. So there's your Ace of Spades, hand-rendered pip and index in the corner. And by the way, they claim that every single pip and index that you see throughout this entire deck was individually hand-rendered, so you won't see any duplicates on the pips. As you go through, the other three aces are fairly ornate as well, but a lot less so. So you get a little bit of a custom border around the larger pip in the center, gives you a little bit of an extra fun feel to them overall. So there's your four aces. Going through the number cards, they're fairly standard, but they do feature those hand-rendered pips. So each one has a very slightly different shape. I think it's a nice little touch of detail on this that I genuinely appreciate. But otherwise, the blacks are classic black. The reds are a bit of a paler, lighter red color, that same color that we saw like on the back design. So there's into the clubs. Very classic shape, nice and easy to read overall. And into the hearts. So that's the number cards, and then we get into the court cards. Now the court cards are definitely inspired by your classic bicycle style courts. Feature the same basic poses, including things like the one-eyed jack, same implements that they're holding in their hands, but they've definitely been completely redesigned. They draw on a much more modern feeling color palette, using that teal, that sort of salmon, almost red, and then that yellow instead of the classic bold red, blue, yellow. And they feature those really fun, almost grotesque, sort of exaggerated features in the faces as well. Definitely a nod to some of the early like 1700s and 1800s decks where you'd see a lot more exaggerated facial features. And I like that nod here, and I think they did it really, really well. So there's your spades. Promise we get back to the quote-unquote duplicate Queen of Spades. And you'll see here, they're not exactly duplicates. Mark and Jenny say they have a lot of fascination with Halloween, and so they went kind of more Halloween-y with the crazy eyes and that maniacal grin on the almost duplicate version of the Queen of Spades. All right, so that's the spades. Here's your diamond courts. Man, that crazy look on the Jack of Diamonds. And then as you go through the club courts, there's those. That Jack of Clubs looks positively angry. And to the heart courts. Like I said, same poses, same implements. You even have that classic suicidal king on the King of Hearts. So really fun look to the court cards overall, while still being true to the, to the old classic decks. As far as handling, these are done on a classic bicycle stock. So these are going to feel really familiar if you've used any of those bicycle decks before. They fan beautifully. That thin border on the edge shows beautifully in fans. I should notice, I didn't mention this when I was doing the back design look, but this is not quite a two-way back design. Not in any way that's going to be distracting, but because it's all hand rendered, there's going to be some slight differences top to bottom that you'll probably notice if you use this in fans or something like that. But nothing that's going to be too distracting or out of the ordinary if you wanted to make use of this deck for gameplay. Now that said, I do think this is a fantastic deck to use for gameplay. Probably a little bit distracting on the back design, maybe even suspicious for people who may think you're using a marked deck if you wanted to use this for Magic. The front's probably recognizable enough to use for Magic, but I wouldn't recommend this as a Magic deck. I'd say as a gameplay deck, this is really going to be a great fun one to use and one that I think will really stand out for anybody. So that is the look at the deck. Now there was one other extra that I picked up during the Kickstarter campaign that you do have available if you want to hunt it down, and that's the 2-deck box set. Comes in just a regular cardboard box. The image you see here, the Broken Crown image, is just stamped on. And on the back, you'll see just a little bit of ad copy. These are numbered, so there's 51 of these 2-deck sets produced in total. And the decks inside are the same basic decks, with the exception of the signatures on them. So Mark and Jenny each signed the decks. So I think it's a fun little touch. Wasn't a huge crazy thing to pick up, but I love having that just because I like the artwork so much. But that is the look at the Broken Crowns deck from Mark and Jenny Fallis. Hope you enjoyed. I really did. Great look at the classics while kind of brought forward and really renewed and given new life. So hope you enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe for more deck reviews and unboxings. Let me know what else it is that you want to see, and I'll see you for the next one.